Okay, so this one's going to be a little bit off topic. Years ago I did a video about my computer and I did a build log of my PC. Now a lot of people that are into kind of audio and techie stuff will probably be into computers as well. It's a kind of cool thing, you can build it yourself, you can customize it yourself, you can get it to do what you want, a bit like a sound system, you customize to how you want it to sound and what you want to play. So yeah, basically I don't game. A lot of people with computers and high-end computers and stuff like that will obviously game on the computer, giving you much better experience than consoles. We're going to get into some arguments here, and so that's why you need a high-performance PC, because you need to run very high level graphics and lots of calculations per second for the game to run properly, etc. So as games become bigger and more graphically advanced, then you need more hardware to keep up with that. For me, however, I don't actually game, so there's no real kind of need to stay right up to date with all the most expensive and latest computer parts. As a result, I actually haven't really upgraded anything for about 7-8 years or so since I first put this computer together. And if you've been following my channel for years, it's a really shitty video way back in the day and I didn't really know what I was doing, but I built a computer and it uses a 775 socket. I originally had a Core 2 Duo E7400 in there, and I didn't overclock it, and I was running 4 gigs of RAM on Windows XP, 32-bit, and yeah, shitty little graphics card, and I used it for music production, which it worked very well at the time. And as time's gone on, it's become my main PC, and it's done very well. The only upgrades that I have made to it since originally purchasing it and kitting it all out with the original parts, I have changed the processor only by default. I needed to change the motherboard because it developed a fault with the Northbridge chip, and so the motherboard which I got in replacement was exactly the same, a slightly different revision, but the guy sent me a CPU with it. It had a CPU in the slot already, which just happened to be a high-end quad-core, it was a Core 2 quad, and it is a Q9550, which is a pretty good processor. And I was like, damn son, so I installed that shit, and so yeah, now it's a quad core, and I've also put an SSD in there which dramatically improved the speeds of the machine, and I also put an old graphics card. My brother, he games on the computer and he upgraded from a 560 Ti to 970 something or other, so I nicked his old 560 Ti, which is not a very good graphics card for gaming, but it does me fine for video rendering and SketchUp and other things like that. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the system in general. Now, I've got into overclocking a little bit recently, and so this little Q9550, its base clock is 2.8 gigahertz, and I've got it running at a ridiculous 4.2 gigahertz. Which is phenomenal for this chip. This is really good overclock, and back in the day, you know, sort of 8-10 years ago, when this hardware was new, this would be seen as a pretty epic overclock. Now the cooler that I'm running is just an air cooler. It's actually an Arctic cooling. This is a pretty crappy cooler actually, you know, for these days. Arctic cooling Freezer Pro. There's this one, Freezer 7 Pro. Which back in the day was pretty big, and everyone kind of rated this cooler, and I still see people using versions of it today, but it's not very big by any means compared to the coolers these days. What I've done is I've replaced this fan on the front with a massive great big 120mm, which is a 3000 RPM and some ridiculous static pressure and cubic foot per meter or whatever. It's a very powerful fan, and so I'm able to keep my temperatures within the limits. When I'm generally using the computer, I can render videos using Vegas, I can use SketchUp, I can have a shitload of tabs open at the same time. Oh, I've got 8 gigs of RAM now, by the way, much faster RAM. That's another more upgrade I did, but generally it's the same kind of machine, and it's running Windows 7 like an absolute boss. It is really snappy. Temperatures on the CPU, let's have a look. Sitting at idle, we've got, yeah, sort of 59, it's pretty, you know, 53. It's kind of high for a lot of people, but this chip is happy to work right up to 100 degrees on the cores. Now the core temperature is different to the actual case, the overall kind of CPU spreader temperature, and the cores can hit 100 degrees and they don't throttle. Not that I haven't seen any decline in performance, it doesn't crash or anything like that. So when I'm rendering a video, the cores will fluctuate between 95 and 100 degrees C, which a lot of you who are into computers will be going, oh my god, that's so hot, you need to get water cooling on that shit, you need to down your clocks a little bit. But this is old hardware, it costs fuck all these days. If I end up blowing the chip because it's getting too hot, nah, no worries, I get something new, no problem whatsoever. So, this little video is just kind of going to be looking at the world today. We're such a throwaway society, and I don't like that. I'm the sort of person, I keep all kinds of stuff. I don't throw things away, because I know that if I throw something away, then next week I'll be doing something, I'll be like, I know what I need to complete this task that I'm doing. I need something that's like this, and I'll be thinking, God, fuck's sake, I threw that away last week. Always happens to me. So I generally try and keep things, especially electronic components, wires and different parts, bits and bobs, speaker parts, surrounds, cones, coils, etc. Because one day I know I'm going to need that part. And so basically, the motherboard which I've got in this machine is a GA EP45, and it's the UD3L, which is a smaller version. The UD3P from Gigabyte is quite renowned for being a fantastic overclocker, which is the one I've got on the desk here. And I've got the smaller version because it was just what was available at the time. I want to push this overclock even further and get the most I can get out of my machine. And you're probably thinking, why are you upgrading? Why are you changing your motherboard for such old parts? Why not just get something new? The reason is because this motherboard cost me £27, and I can sell the motherboard in the machine at the moment for about £40. So not only am I making a small upgrade in the motherboard, I am also making my money back. So why would I not choose to do this? I don't need all the latest parts, like I say. The machine is absolutely snappy as hell. I can close all my tabs on here on Chrome, I can reopen them in an instant, and I can go over here and I can open Sony Vegas really quickly. I can open Photoshop, and let's get SketchUp on the go as well. Audacity, open Chrome back open again. Let's also open, I don't know, Microsoft Word at the same time. It is so fast. Is really good, and as you can see, it's opening everything up. I'm just opening it and closing it here. Close Photoshop now, close Sony Vegas now. Yeah, it's really fast machine. So I don't need to upgrade this for what I use it for, but I wanted to get the best motherboard that I can in there for the overclocking, and it's gonna not cost me any money either. So the problem with this board is I got it really cheap. Now, I like fixing things, okay? I don't like throwing things away, like I said. I love repairing stuff. If I've got something that's broken and I repair it, it's such a great feeling to have. So this motherboard was listed on eBay as used. It said, pulled from a working machine, so it should work, but I haven't tested it, which basically means, fuck you, it doesn't work. But on the eBay listing, he listed it as used, not as for parts or repair. Now, if you list an item on eBay as used, regardless of whatever you put in the description, even if you put not tested, no returns, then because you listed it as used, if you check the description for used on eBay, it says an item that's fully functional but may show signs of wear, blah 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 blah. So that means that if it doesn't work when the buyer receives it, you are entitled to a refund by eBay. So I could just send this back. This doesn't actually work. This is the point I was getting to. This motherboard is dead. You plug it in, and it fires it up, the CPU fan spins, and then it switches back off again, and then comes back on. It's just boot looping before posting. Every now and then you get the beep codes, which is 23 short beeps, which means power failure. And I was pulling my hair out thinking, what's going on? Has it got bent pins in there? I tried all sorts of different combinations of RAM, graphics cards, two different processors, my old Core 2 Duo and the Core 2 Quad, and nothing was working, and it was just doing the same bloody issue over and over again. And so I took the motherboard out and I had a look at it. Now, I'm going to have to probably swap lenses on my camera here. Here we go, this is just a bit of close-up of the damage. You can see there the two small tracks that have been damaged there to the left-hand side. Those are the ones that are not working. I've tested this with a multimeter, with the diode setting and the resistance setting. And on this one, let's get that a little bit above there. It's so hard to focus with this backwards pram lens. You can see the two tracks there straight in the middle that have been spliced between. and so they need to be jumped as well. And you can see there the missing pads where that is an inductor. So what that is a little bit of ferrite with a little bit of metal through it, and I could possibly just jump those two pads and it would work fine, but I want to try and find a replacement inductor that is the same value to put in there, just to help with the stability. Now, in order to repair these tracks, what I need to do is I need to work out whereabouts they're going to. So what I've done with the multimeter is I've worked out, you can see how small this is just with my finger. I've worked out that these two tracks, the one on the bottom here is going to this pin here on this transistor, and the top one is going to this pin here on this transistor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take some little bit of copper wire here. Now this is an old Logitech Z2300, sorry. Yeah, Z2300 system. This is one of the satellite speakers which are known for going on my friend's system. He had this and I replaced the speakers for him. So this is the voice coil obviously for it. And so I'm going to steal some of the copper wire from here, which is insulated, and I'm going to just take a little bit of the insulation off on the end of the cable, and I'm going to use this little bit of copper wire to jump the connector from, where are we? I'm going to attach a little bit of copper wire to this pin and this pin, and I'm going to bring it all the way over, and rather than trying to attach it here right by where the CPU mounts to prevent damage again, I'm going to follow it round, and it actually goes all the way over here, and it goes down to the underside of the board over here. So I'm going to just very lightly sand off the coating on these two here, and I'm going to solder little bits of copper wire from these two over here to this one and this one, and that will then complete the connection as was meant to happen with these tracks all the way over here. And similar goes for these ones over here, but I can't work out where these tracks actually go to. I think they go into the RAM slots here. So that's going to be a little bit more difficult. So what I'm going to actually have to do is I'm going to actually just have to use the copper wire and jump them over this little hole that he's made in the board over here, which I should be able to do with a bit of persistence. I've got quite a sophisticated soldering station down there with a heat gun and soldering tweezers and all sorts of stuff like that, so we're going to see what we can do. So that's why I'm probably getting a power failure and the system is not posting. Now, any normal sort of person would just be like, you know what, screw this, I'm going to go to eBay and I'm going to send this guy back and I'm going to buy another one. But the problem is you can't get these motherboards anymore. They are generally about 50 to 60 pounds, probably usually more as well. You can pay up to 80 pounds for this motherboard now on eBay, because they're not made anymore and they're starting to become a bit more sort of sought after for people that are wanting to overclock this old chip. So I got this for £27, so I could send it back, get my £27 and then spend another 50-60 quid on one that works out of the box. But I love fixing stuff, so I'm going to try and attempt to repair this motherboard, and obviously if I can do so, then I have the satisfaction of repairing it. I've gained experience in repair, and I have only spent £27 on a motherboard that is much better than one I currently have, and I can then make a bit of money selling my one. So what I wanted to do was take it down to the workshop to my soldering station, which is kind of a new thing down there, and we're going to have a look at exactly how to go about repairing this. Okay, so it's a pretty big mess here in the workshop. Over winter, it gets pretty cold out here, and I don't tend to do much tidying and stuff. So yeah, I've just got a whole bunch of shit basically fucking laying around. Oh my gosh, it's ridiculous in here. So yeah, my next project will be to start working out what some of this shit, where it should go, and how to better manage this space. But this is just a little bench I've put up for a little bit of repair. Now obviously, being into audio, I want to get into amplifier repair, and it's something that I've been doing a little bit of over the last few months. You can see we've got a janky looking Hyphonics up there. Hyphonics, when they go, they go. And I've got some other amps here laying around to have a tinker with, a couple of D10s, solid audio. What have we got down there? Some class AB 4 channel, ground 0 10k. So I think there's a few other bits laying around somewhere, but yeah, basically I wanted to just get into amp repair so that I can sort of offer a full service. Now this will take a couple of years, or many years, to really master, but I'm a quick learner, and I've already repaired a good couple of amplifiers with some in-depth issues, not just output FETs. We're talking drivers, we're talking service mount soldering. I've got myself a soldering station over here, which I have soldering tweezers for surface mount stuff. I've got the iron there with a fume extractor, and I've got a couple of different iron tips, and I've also got a hot air gun. Now, upgrades that I want to make to the sort of workbench, if you like, I want to get a microscope, sort of. So I've seen it on the soldering channels. I watch sort of stuff on YouTube. It's like a microscope, and it has the LED ring, and it's got a camera, and you hook up to a screen, and it allows you to see surface mount soldering a lot easier. I also want to get a way better multimeter using the trusty old eBay piece of crap at the moment. It does the job. I want to get a nice little fluke, so that's the next thing on the list. I want to get something to help with desoldering, and I need to get some more soldering paste as well, because this stuff I got from eBay, it's out of date, and it is crusty and doesn't really work very well, which is a pain in the ass. And I also need to get some soldering flux. The solder I've got comes with flux in it, but I like to have a nice bit of flux on there to deal with the heat and to just clean things up a little bit easier as well when I'm soldering. So yeah, a few upgrades I want to do to these the test bench. Battery wise, for amplifier clamping, I got rid of my excess power batteries. I had a bank of 6 14 volt 50 amps. I wasn't really cutting it. The voltage drop was a little bit too much. Clamping with 3k amplifiers, I was going down to sort of 13.5 volts, wasn't too happy. So I'm going to have a set of lithium batteries in here with the power supply, and that should allow me to clamp big amplifiers with a sudden burst. And I've also got some excess power super caps in there as well to deal with the sudden burst. Now let's get to repairing this then. Obviously I haven't got all the tools that I would need, but I'm impatient, and whilst all the rest of the stuff comes, I just want to give a go at repairing this motherboard just now for you whilst I've got the camera out. Okay, first things first, let's start with these tracks here. Now, as you can see on the board, we've got 2 great big scratches in here, and the 2 tracks which have been damaged by these scratches are this and this track here. Now this one goes to this pin of this transistor, and this one goes to this pin of this transistor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this tiny little voice coil wire here, and I'm going to solder one of the wires to that one, one of the wires to that one, and I'm going to take it over the tracks. I'm not going to follow the tracks. I'm going to go over to here, which is where the tracks finish up on this side of the board. It's these 2 little ones here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some very fine grit sandpaper. I'm just going to very carefully just sand away the top coating of the motherboard here to expose the metal underneath these the coating here, so I can hopefully very carefully solder little bits of wire to here, and going to go back to the transistors. Okay, let's just see if we can get the edge on this to just sand off very small bits. See, this is too big really. I've got a kind of sponge sanding block here, but it's kind of too big. So let's try something else. Let's try and use very carefully a Stanley knife blade tip, just to kind of scratch off this this coating on the top here. Okay, that seems to be working. Yeah, that's working much better. And I don't want to scratch off any of the insulation or any of the covering on either of the other 2 here, because then the solder will be attracted to those 2 as well. Interesting one. How do you pronounce solder or soda? Because obviously there's an L in there, and some people will say, especially in the States, will say solder. Just apply the solder just here. Now up until recently I've always pronounced it solder. I need to solder this board. But after watching the Rossmann channel on YouTube, fantastic guy who repairs laptops, Apple, Mac especially. Very cool guy. He actually linked to the dictionary phonetic description of solder, and it's apparently supposed to be pronounced solder with a silent L. But I don't know. As long as everyone understands what I mean, does it really matter how we say it? I don't know. Okay. So there we go, that worked much better. So you can see we've scratched off the protective coating there on those two. So now I'm going to go ahead and fire up the soldering iron station here. Let's wait for the iron to heat up. Now we don't want to make it too hot because we don't want to risk damaging the tracks there. We want to make it hot enough because this is a very fine tip on this iron, and obviously the finer the tip, the less heat transfer there is, and it will make soldering a little bit difficult. So I'm going to crank it up a little bit. Now with this little wire here, the coating comes off incredibly easy, and so does it come off the coil very easy, as it would so appear. Okay. So I need to go ahead and grab my Stanley knife tip again, and I just want to start off a new reel on here. Where did that break? How do I focus on it? There we go. Let's find where the end of that bit of wire was. There we go, I think I found it. These tweezers are crap. They don't have, the pinching isn't right at the end. Okay, there we go. So let's take a bit of this wire that is quite far in. There we go, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scratch off some of the protective coating on this wire, sort of a little bit halfway up. Let's focus this. So I'm just going to take off some of this protective coating here. Let's go for this here. Okay, so now what I want to do is I just want to tin my soldering iron tip. So I'm just going to take some, tin the end of that, and let's see, because I'm still very new at this. I am not a soldering master by any means, so this is still kind of new territory for me. So if this happens to work once we're finished, I'll be incredibly happy indeed. Can you see that on the camera? No, you can't. Oh, let's get that over there. How can I make it so you can see this? Let's get that there. There we go. Okay. Okay, so that seems to be attached there. So now what I want to do is I want to bring it over to here, and I want to scrape off some of that coating over here. Let's do so. Let's do it with the tweezers. Okay. Okay. So now, this is going to be slightly tricky, obviously. This is incredibly small. Just tin my iron again. Yeah. So let's just apply a small bit of solder to this little pad here. Okay. You see that? That's, where are we? So we've got a little tiny blob of solder on that pad there that I want to bridge this to. So now, if I just take my iron here, can hopefully get that soldered to that little pad. There we go, done. So I can break this off like so, and let's just test and make sure. Oops. Let's just test and make sure that that was actually connected and it's not shorting anything else out. So let's take my multimeter. Now, one of the good things about having this tiny piece of wire on the end of my multimeter actually means that the test lead can be a single strand of wire, which is quite handy because it means that I can get really down in there with the surface mount stuff. Okay. So you want to go measure from here on the transistor, and there we go. We have a successful connection there. Now let's just make sure that it's not bridged anywhere else. Nope. Okay. Success. So now we just have to do the same with the other one. Just change the aperture. Hopefully that should make it easier for you to see. Let's go ahead and tin my iron again. Okay, got the flux on there burning off nicely. Now, just need to go ahead and solder this one over here. Now, I need to be very careful here because I don't want this shorting out the transistor next to it. So what I need to do really actually is break off this wire just a little bit there. I only want to release the insulation on the very tip of this wire. So let's scrape off the insulation just on the tip of this wire so it doesn't short out any other bits next to it. Okay. I probably need to apply some solder to this pin first, really, to help it melt. Okay, there we go. That one's there connected. So similarly, we just want to bring it over here. We want to solder the other end to that little pin there. So let's scrape off the insulation just here. Let's use my standard knife blade tip. just want to apply a small blob of solder to that pin there. I don't want to get in the way of the other pin. Okay, this solder's dead on this iron. Here we go, let's get rid of that. Let's get some fresh solder. Okay. Come on. Come on, take the solder. Take it. Okay. This one does not want to grab the solder. Okay. Okay, let's try this again. Great, now I've seen sort of bridged those two. And now I've removed the, the wire from the first one. Okay. Okay, that's back down there. And now we have solder on this second one, which is what I wanted. And now it's come off again. Okay. You know what? Let's do the second one first. Let's get this one out of the way. I can always remove the solder in the middle afterwards. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some CA glue. I'm actually just going to put a tiny blob down here to prevent that wire from jumping up and moving around too much. And we're going to do the same on the other one. We're just going to activate that. Just so it doesn't mess around. Now, I'm going to take the hot air gun and we're just going to heat up that solder. Just there. Just to get rid of that bridge in the center. Okay, now annoyingly my camera just ran out of storage on the SD card, so I decided to offload it and have a biscuit. So you can see here I've done the 2 ones to the transistors there, and they go to the little pads over here. And in the meantime, I've also done the tracks over here. And testing out with the multimeter, they all seem to be connected correctly to where they should be. I'm quite aware that I seem to have put the wire through the mounting hole there. Here we go. That was a slight oversight. But nevertheless, it should still work. So, the only thing left to do now is to go over here. So the only thing left to do now is to replace this component here, which has obviously been knocked off the board. Now, originally I thought it was an inductor. These two look to be both the same components, because I've checked a photograph of this motherboard in high resolution on the web, and they both look the same component. They're both black with no markings. Now, I've often thought that's an inductor from previous experience, which is just a little bit of ferrite with a bit of wire through it, or coil through it, or whatever. But in this case, it doesn't seem to be. It seems to be a diode. So I have played around with the multimeter, and I've worked out which way around the diode is on there. And so I'm just going to go ahead and take a donor board here, which is some kind of small amplifier. And I've located a diode which is a very, very similar reading, and I'm just going to desolder the diode from the board so that I can measure it properly out of circuit, just to confirm, to make sure, see that it's the right sort of readings there. And I'm just going to solder it onto the motherboard, and we're going to fire it up and just see if it posts. I don't think it probably will post. I might have to play around with it a bit more, maybe try a different diode, but we're just going to see what happens. So the diode that I'm going to steal from this is this one here, D2. And so, to make my life a little bit easier to desolder that diode, why the hell is my... Oh, there it is. That's another thing I need for in here, is an actual workstation lamp. That would be very handy. Right. So to make my life easier, I'm just going to go ahead and take, I've got some soldering tweezers here. So I'm going to turn those on and crank up the heat a little bit on there. And what this allows me to do is obviously pinch either side of the component that I want to desolder, and it should be pretty easy to come off. Don't just need to wait for these to heat up suitably. Now I'm just going to tin them. This lighting really isn't great, is it? This way around, it's kind of everything's in shadow. Come on, heat up. It's actually freezing cold in here. Almost shivering. These sure do take their time to heat up. Now these are tinned, let's go ahead and grab, either side of this diode. And oops, there we go, almost off. I just kind of slipped there, so I was moving my phone. There we go, and she's off. So now if I put this donor board to one side, and let's put the motherboard back into view. Where are we? There we go. Let's place the light. Now what I want to do is I want to prep the board. I want to put some new solder blobs onto the pads there. I can only use my my tweezers or my regular iron one at a time, which makes life a little bit annoying because I can't chop and change about unplugging one and plugging the other in. So let's see if we can do this just with the tweezers. I find the tweezers don't really heat up as well as the regular iron does, and it doesn't really seem to stick to the tips of the thing very well. It's a bit annoying. Okay. I just need to wait for the pads to heat up as well, because if the pads aren't hot, then the solder won't stick to the pads. Okay, this is not really working. Actually, you know what? Screw this. Let's take the tweezers out. I don't like working with these. Let's tin my regular iron. Let's turn the heat down a little bit. We got a bit hot with the tweezers. Okay, there we go, that's a bit better. There we go, look at that! Straight away. Much better. Okay, there we go, that's pretty nice. So now, let's grab this little diode with my crappy tweezers. And we need to make sure that this is on the correct way around. So, what I worked out from before is that... Damn it, why is this sticky? I want it to stick to the tweezers. Now, what I worked out before was that it's got a little marking on it. Here we go. And that little marking, can you see how well you can see this? I want a little marking to be around this way. So if I just plop that there. There we go. Now I want to hold that perfectly in place somehow. I'm trying to do this so that you guys can still see on the camera, which is not the easiest of things to do. Okay, that's not working. Need to retim the pad there. See, what I really need here is some flux. That would really help me out. But I can't bother to wait for that to come in the post. I want to get this done, which I will do, which I will get done. It will just take a little bit more patience. Ooh, that's a big bit of solder. Okay. That's a very big bit of solder. Okay, you know what? I think I need to clean the pads there. There. Spin this round. Shit. Where's the flippin' diode gone? Ah, boy. I believe, sir, it has made a breakpoint of the table. Okay, let's see if it's full on the floor. There's not much hope of finding it on the floor, but you never know. Might get lucky. Goodness me, there's all sorts of stuff down here. Okay, well that sure taught me a lesson. Don't put tiny SMD components on the edge of the table where they might fall off. So, time to get a second donor board. Let's just see whether D1 is the correct value on this this other donor board here. We've got another donor board here. I'm just going to see. I've just found D1, so I'm just going to have a quick check of that. Let's see. So that way is the isolated way, and this way. Ah, there. What would you know? That's the correct value also. So time to plug the old tweezers back in, otherwise I'll never get this one off. The joys of SMD soldering. What, you know. I don't know what I'm getting myself into, do I? A whole load of bollocks, that's what. You see, the tip doesn't even melt the solder on the reel. The heat transfer of this is just terrible. Okay, there we go. Okay. Let's put the decent iron back on. Okay. Now I need to keep an eye on this one, because I don't want this one disappearing as well, because I think that's the last one that I have. Here we go. Let's move you just over here, away from the edge. Now, let's bring it back over here to where it needs to go onto the board. And we have much nicer solder pads on there now. Now, I'm actually going to try a slightly different method this time. I'm going to try the hot air. And this is how I've seen a lot of people do it. So let's go and heat the hot air gun up to its maximum. Ooh, Jesus. Goes up to 480, that's pretty hot. Let's turn the air pressure down because I don't want to blow this thing off the board, which can happen very, very easily. So I'm just going to try and hold it down with this. And I'm going to apply some heat here, and hopefully that will melt the solder. Okay, which it seems to have done. We just need to shift it over a little bit. And now the other side. I'm going to have to move my phone out of the way for this. Did you see that? It just jumped into place. That is awesome. That is very, very nice. Okay. Let's let the hot air gun cool down. So now if I take my multimeter, hopefully this will have done the job. So, yeah, okay, let's have a look. So this one we should, now I'm just going to check this back diode first, this one at the back, because I'm trying to match it to that one. Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay, so I worked out before that I think the red one, oops, making sure, okay, so yeah, we've got about 709, and so this should be very similar, hopefully. 549. So it's a little bit different, and that's because we have a different value of diode in there. Do I try and post it with the slight different diode value in there? Or do I scrounge through some donor stuff that I've got and try and find a diode that is exactly correct? That is a good question. You know what, I think we're going to try and post it. Why not? Let's see what happens. I'll be absolutely baffled if this works. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this upstairs and plug it into some test stuff I've got, and let's have a play and let's see what happens. Let's see if it kills the CPU, or if it kills the RAM, or if it posts. Okay, so I've got a few spare parts here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm not actually going to affix a proper heatsink cooler on there, basically because I don't want to have to dig into mine again, and also I don't want to risk damaging those other bits of wire until I've confirmed that this works or not. So I'm just going to take a heatsink from a stock cooler without its mount. I'm just going to apply some thermal paste and just pop it on there. We're only going to be entering the BIOS, so the processor is not going to be under any load really whatsoever. So for the few minutes that we're going to be testing this and putting it into BIOS, that'll be absolutely fine. And I've also just got the cooler there just to blow a bit of cold air over it and to check that it spins. Hold a bit of RAM. Super old graphics card. Now this is why I don't throw things away. Like, this is bloody like 10, 11, maybe 12, 14 years old. Who knows? Really, really old graphics card. It's only got a VGA and S video output. That is super old. But in this case, I need it. It's just to test a basic bit of graphics, and I don't want to pull apart my machine to get my 560 Ti out. So yeah, fantastic. I haven't thrown that away. A little PC speaker, because I don't want to jump the one out of mine, so I've just connected the old piezo speaker that I had laying around that I didn't throw away. I just connected it to some jumper cables, and that's going to go into the front panel connectors there. So let's fire this baby up and see if it posts or if it blows up in my face. Graphics card in over here, and I think this actually uses, oh wow. This graphics card is so old that it doesn't actually fit in any of the slots on this motherboard. Great, so I'm going to have to go and dig the graphics card out of the office computer downstairs. Okay, let's try that again. Graphics card that is modern enough to fit in the PCI Express. VGA cable for old school style graphics. Apply some thermal paste to this little heat sink here, or to the CPU. I don't know why I'm wasting Arctic MX4 on this. RAM, yep, that's all in. So now I just need to connect the power supply up. Motherboard. CPU, 4-pin, over here. Put the fan back. And that's it. We don't need anything else because we haven't got any drives. Oh, and PC speaker to check for beep codes. Just needs a little bit of metal screwdriver to short out the power on pins. Let's turn my TV on. Okay. Moment of truth. Let's see what happens. Let's see. Make sure you can see this. Okay. Yep. And we wait with bated breath as to what will happen. Okay, we've got phase lights. We've got spinning of the CPU. And the posts! Holy fucking shit! Oh my gosh! That is fucking incredible! Bloody hell! Absolutely no way does that post. Oh wait. Okay, that was a reboot. Let's turn that off. Let's plug my keyboard in. Let's get a little wireless adapter here. And let's enter BIOS and see what's going on. I didn't get a beep though. Perhaps this speaker's no good. Okay. So we want to press delete to enter setup, which we do. And we're now in the BIOS. Let's go to PC hot status. So we have CPU temperature 38 degrees. So my little heatsink thing there is working absolutely fine, and it's recognised all the RAM and the correct timings. But yeah, everything's working. Everything is flipping working. Now this is a huge success for me because surface mount soldering is not something that I'm experienced in, and I'm just kind of getting to grips with it. And so all these tiny little things that I've done down here with these little wires, I really didn't think that they would work. I honestly did not think that they would work, and I didn't think that that incorrect value of diode would work either. But there you have it. Throwaway society, guys. If you're willing to learn, and if you're willing to give things a go, then the feeling of success from trying something is just absolutely, you can't put a price on it. It's just fantastic. I'm so glad that I gave that a go. And to be perfectly honest, even though I'm not too convinced about using this board in my daily driver and overclocking the crap out of it, it's just given me a huge sense of satisfaction that this has been repaired. So this has only cost me £27, and so I now have a very top-end motherboard from 10 years ago that still is very fast today, that I can use with a whole bunch of stuff. You know, I might even give this board to my parents and give them a serious, well-needed computer upgrade. They're running something even older and slower. So this for me is a huge success, coming from something that was not working at all and was showing no signs of recovering, to finding the fault just by looking at the board there, seeing the damage that had been done, to attempting a repair, not really knowing what I was doing, adding some component that wasn't the same value, not really correct, and getting a post on the screen. Whether this will be stable in a Windows environment, well, I'm yet to know. We haven't found that out yet because I have not got no hard drives hooked up, but maybe that'll be something for another video, or maybe I'll do it in my spare time and I'll put the results in the video comments for you guys. Yeah, leave me some comments, give me some tips with the soldering stuff. Obviously I'm planning to upgrade my test bench as much as I can, but yeah, let me know if you liked the video. If you didn't like it, then dislike. If you liked it, then like. Learner's tech tips, and I will see you guys later.